Hello and welcome. I'm Al Barrows, and this is UFO Disclosure, the podcast that's meant to show an average person's reaction to all the UFO, UAP news from everywhere and anywhere. Okay, so some of you might already be aware that the next UAP hearing is set for November the 13th. I found this post from Michael Dean, 05. The headline reads, "The November the 13th UFO hearing will be public and broadcast live, just like the Grusch hearing!" Exclamation point. And that should be interesting. Representative Nancy Mace, who will be chairing that UAP hearing, was interviewed recently. And I found this on Reddit, and the post is by r/UFOB, Remse/2907. And the heading reads, "Chair Nancy Mace previews fall UAP hearing," quote, saying, "I need people who've maybe seen some SHT and can tell us some stuff." And on Ask a Poll, which are reporters stationed right in Washington, trying to get UAP news from the representatives. So it's going to be Nancy Mace who's going to be chairing the second public UAP hearing on November the 13th in the U.S. House. And when Nancy Mace was asked by Ask a Poll if she had any public update on who the witnesses are going to be at the public hearing, November the 13th, she said, and I quote, "I wanted to have a military vet. I think it's important to have more than just academics, just important. So I moved the dates back." Nancy Mace was also quoted as saying, "I met with Representative Tim Burchett and with Luna to get them on why they wanted this guy. I think he's an admiral that does USOs, underwater submerged objects stuff. More than happy to have him testify." And Mace went on to say, "But the witnesses will be different, and they'll bring different information to the table." So I'm pretty sure she was alluding to Admiral Gallaudet when she was talking about a military whistleblower. So Mace said that it's actually a guy that will talk about USOs, that is underwater submersible objects, because we haven't talked about USOs. And as far as the other witnesses, she was quoted as saying, "We're working through who the other witnesses are going to be." She went on to say, it will be a variety. It will be a grab bag," end quote. So apparently Nancy Mace pushed back the hearing or the dates for the hearing because she wanted to get Admiral Gallaudet. She's quoted here as saying, "I wanted to get this guy. I wanted to get this individual and make dates for him," end quote. Okay, so lastly, she says, "It's actually a guy that will talk about USOs," referring to Admiral Gallaudet, "because we haven't talked about USOs." So you're going to be hearing about underwater submerged objects at the November the 13th live UAP hearing. And Tim Gallaudet was seen on social media recently. This is Tim Gallaudet. This is a post on Reddit by r/UFO Fluter. And Tim Gallaudet, who will testify at the November the 13th congressional UAP hearing, says he has personally filmed video evidence of orb UFOs. Okay. This is what he looks like. And I'm going to play this. He's talking about orbs that he's seen. And this is from Stephen Greenstreet at Middle of Mayhem. And this is from X. So the former U.S. Navy official, Tim Gallaudet, says he filmed, quote, "many orb UFOs that are possibly, quote, spirits flying around his psychic daughter's bedroom." You should bring this stuff or this video of the orbs as evidence as congressional testimony at the hearing. Okay. Without further ado, this is Admiral Tim Gallaudet. We'll be talking at the November the 13th UAP hearing about USOs or underwater submerged objects. Right now, he'll be talking about these orbs that he's seen.
Now, we were all grown up in traditional kind of religion with, I think myself as an Episcopalian, and my wife maybe raised the same. Catholicism influenced her a bit too. But at some point in our lives, my youngest daughter had real serious behavioral issues. And to put it, just sum it all up, she is like many of these medium that you see. She can see spirits. She saw them all the time. There are people that have this ability to tap into whatever we want to call it, the other side, where people go when they die, whatever that is, the energy that people leave behind. There's a lot of ways to explain it, but it was real and real to us. I mean, she had real experiences. It was affecting her. A really interesting example was, when she was really having a lot of these experiences, we had this like little camera, basically a video recorder, and we were in her room one time, which things were happening, and we just filmed it, I think. And when we looked at the tape again, as people have seen in these experiences, there were just orbs flying all around this video. I mean, seriously, many, and it was so active. And these are all things that we just couldn't believe ourselves.
Okay, so that was U.S. Navy retired Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet talking about his psychic daughter's abilities and how he once, or at least once, saw orbs floating around her. And again, I think that he should bring that tape of the orbs with him as part of his testimony on the November the 13th UAP hearing. Now, I'd like to switch gears slightly, and just to show the effect of what these UAP hearings and the disclosure movement in our own country is having worldwide, I'd like to look at what's happening in Japan recently. This post on Reddit was by r/UFOs, boss, MANG, and it reads, Japan's new prime minister is part of a UAP research group. So they're very progressive in Japan about UAPs as well. The prime minister's name is Shigeru Ishiba, and he was just named the new prime minister, and he is a founding member of a parliamentary group that supports research into UAPs. He also served as a defense minister from 2007 through 2008 and has spoken hypothetically about how the government might respond to UFOs appearing in Japan's airspace. I think that's very progressive, especially for a prime minister. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention The Program, the new documentary filmed by James Fox. The trailer was just put out recently.
In 2017, the New York Times published a story exposing a secret government program investigating UFOs.
That story was kind of a catalyst for a lot of things that have happened since. Members of Congress started to ask questions.
Instruments report there is something there.
There are flight characteristics that we can't explain.
Here we are having a hearing where just a few years ago, we didn't even acknowledge that these things were real.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
You're telling me people have come forward claiming firsthand knowledge of craft of non-human origin.
Okay, I want to stop there because the person that's about to comment is Kirk McConnell. And he's going to say that the new whistleblowers have firsthand knowledge of UAP. So they're giving firsthand knowledge testimony, and they're already in a skiff. And Kirk Donald spent 37 years with the Senate Armed Services Committee, so he certainly knows what he's talking about.
That's correct.
That's Kirk McConnell right there.
Have sources who have asserted not only that there have been crashes, but there have been crash retrievals.
Do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
Biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they human or non-human?
Non-human.
I'm sitting here today because the American people are being lied to. We are the American government, and we are open, and we're going to be open about this.
What has been revealed
non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity.
is only part of the story.
The pressure's on. The Pentagon, the CIA, they're going to have to answer the mail.
Some are risking everything.
Have you had incidences that have caused you to be in fear for your life?
Yes, personally.
To uncover the rest.
What is being done to verify the assertion that the U.S. government has spaceships of non-human intelligence in their possession?
That kind of revelation unearths people's beliefs.
I would go to jail to say things that I've been exposed to in the program.
Wow. So that was the program. Looks really exciting, and it should be out later on this year. Now I'd like to really switch gears and talk about a massive underwater alien base off the coast of Malibu. I got this on X, and this post is from WOW at WOW369-32525.
The Malibu deep underwater base, an entrance that was discovered off the coast of Malibu at Point Doom, which appears to be the holy grail of UFO and USO researchers that have been looking for it for the past 40 years. We made the discovery on the week of May 12th, which was a Monday. We announced it on the site, Facebook, Twitter, on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we announced it to the world. What you are looking at here is the third image that we release. And you need to understand one thing that is very important. These are the straight files, untouched. There's nothing funny here. Nothing has been manipulated at all. These are the straight images from Google Earth. And you can clearly see in this image, it is 2.5 miles wide, 1.35 to 1.45 miles deep, 6.6 miles off of the Malibu coast. That's PCH that you see off in the distance. And the ceiling is 500 feet thick. This image here is our topography study that we did. You can see the anomaly off to the left. You can see ranges that go from 450 meters or 1,476 feet from the surface, the top of the water, to the bottom of the platform. It is absolutely enormous. The bottom of the entrance is 700 meters or 2,296 feet from the surface. The distance between the pillars is 2,745 feet wide. The pillars are 600 to 630 feet tall, 100 feet at the base. This image here, you are looking directly south to the north. You can see Port Hueneme, the Marine Corps Naval Air Station off in the distance at 12 o'clock. PCH right there, running up the coast of Malibu.
Okay, so it's gigantic. And that was Jimmy Church that you heard speaking. You can see him at jimmychurchradio.com. He also has a podcast. And that was a big revelation by his team. And I thought that was relevant because we were talking about Tim Gallaudet, Admiral Tim Gallaudet, who will be speaking at the next November the 13th UAP hearing about USOs, or underwater submerged objects. So I thought this underwater base was relevant. I'd like to also talk about another underwater base. This base is submerged in Antarctica. Okay, I got this article online, and the article is written by David Freeman, and the title reads, Inside Antarctica's Hidden UFO Base, Whistleblowers Expose the NSA's Secret Interstellar Operations. Hidden beneath the icy expanse of Antarctica lies a secret that has been slowly coming to light over the last few decades. A massive underground base reportedly managed by the National Security Agency, or NSA. This facility, according to multiple whistleblowers, is not just a relic of Cold War military activity or a scientific research station. Instead, it's a high-tech hub involved in interstellar trade. I'll say that again. It's involved in interstellar trade and extraterrestrial communications. Claims that challenge what we know about government operations in one of the most remote regions on Earth. For years, the public has been fed small snippets of information about UFOs with little in the way of substantial disclosure. But the recent revelations by whistleblowers like Eric Hecker and several former Navy personnel have painted a much clearer and more disturbing picture of what is really happening in Antarctica. Their accounts describe advanced technology far beyond current public knowledge, secret interstellar dealings, and the recovery and reverse engineering of alien spacecraft. In a recent interview on the Redacted podcast with Clayton Morris, Dr. Michael Salla, an expert in exopolitics and UFO research, delved into these claims, pointing to a long-standing cover-up that stretches deep into the U.S. intelligence community. Dr. Salla's sources within the military and intelligence agencies point to Antarctica as a key location for extraterrestrial operations, guarded and overseen by the NSA. But the narrative isn't just about NSA's involvement. It's about the scale and scope of these hidden operations. According to whistleblowers, Antarctica has been the site of interstellar trade for decades, with UFOs regularly entering and leaving Earth's atmosphere from the base, all the while staying under the radar of public awareness. Recent changes in leadership at the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, with Dr. John Klasky now at the helm, have sparked hope that these long-hidden operations might finally be brought into the light. And I'm going to show a picture of the new AARO leader. Okay, this is Dr. John T. Kozlowski, the new AARO director. He took over for Sean Kirkpatrick, who allegedly was putting out misinformation and discouraging whistleblowers. Dr. John T. Kozlowski serves as the director of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO. And I'm not sure whether he's going to be permanent or whether this is just a temporary assignment. But prior to that, Dr. Kozlowski held technical and leadership positions within the Research Directorate of the National Security Agency, or NSA. Okay. Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the director that Kozlowski took over for, his background was in the CIA, so that might account for his pushback on the whole disclosure thing. But people are looking forward to Dr. John Kozlowski because he's not from the CIA, he's from the NSA. So I have high hopes for Dr. Kozlowski. He's got to be better than Sean Patrick was. So moving on with the article. The most credible sources supporting these claims come from individuals with direct involvement in these operations. Eric Hecker, a contractor for Raytheon, spent time stationed at the South Pole and has since revealed shocking details about the technology and activities at the base. According to Hecker, the facility houses advanced systems capable of tracking UFOs and other unidentified craft far beyond the atmosphere. This goes far beyond mere satellite observation. Hecker claims that the base functions as a critical control center for monitoring interstellar activity. Hecker's accounts align closely with those of other whistleblowers, such as Spartan 1 and Spartan 2, former Navy officers who have come forward with their own experiences regarding the Antarctic base. Their testimonies provide a detailed description of a sprawling, high-tech underground facility designed to manage interstellar travel and trade. They claim that the base is equipped with propulsion systems and energy technology that the public has never seen, largely because it has been reverse engineered from extraterrestrial spacecraft. One of the more significant claims made by these whistleblowers is that this hidden base is not simply a military outpost. Instead, it serves as a center for managing communications and trade with the extraterrestrial civilizations. According to Spartan 1 and 2, the base is directly involved in what they describe as interstellar commerce, where materials and information are exchanged between humans and alien visitors. These accounts are supported by Dan Sherman, a former NSA officer who has previously disclosed his involvement in extraterrestrial communications. Sherman claims that the NSA has been in contact with an extraterrestrial group known as the Greys for decades, relaying information and receiving technology in return. He further asserts that the agency has developed systems to detect UFO activity globally, particularly in areas like Antarctica, where alien crafts frequently operate. The NSA's interest in UFOs and extraterrestrial activity is well documented, although the full extent of their operations remains hidden from the public view. Since its creation in 1952, the NSA has been tasked with monitoring global communications and signals intelligence. Over the past years, this mission has expanded to include the detection of tracking UFOs, which often emit specific electromagnetic signatures, particularly in the form of gamma rays. Antarctica, with its isolation and minimal human presence, offers the perfect location for these secret operations. For decades, the NSA has reportedly been using the frozen continent as a base of operations for its more clandestine activities. The reports from whistleblowers suggest that the agency has set up sophisticated monitoring systems capable of detecting UFO activity not just over Antarctica, but globally. These systems can track the movement of spacecraft entering and leaving Earth's atmosphere, and many of these craft have been detected near the South Pole. According to Sherman and other sources, the NSA's involvement in extraterrestrial affairs goes beyond simple monitoring. The agency has allegedly established direct communications with alien civilizations, with Antarctica serving as a key location for these interactions. The NSA's role in managing this interstellar trade, as revealed by Spartan 1 and Spartan 2, is part of a larger network of secret operations that have remained hidden from the public for decades. The appointment of Dr. John Kozlowski to head AARO has stirred excitement within the UFO research community, particularly among those who have long advocated greater transparency. AARO, which was established to investigate UFO sightings and assess potential threats, has faced criticism for its handling of whistleblower testimony and its failure to provide any meaningful disclosure to the public. Under Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, AARO was seen as a barrier to disclosure, more interested in maintaining the status quo than in investigating the more controversial aspects of UFO activity. Dr. Kozlowski's background with the NSA has led many to believe that his appointment could signal a shift in how AARO handles UFO investigations. Having spent years working at the NSA, Kozlowski is well-versed in the agency's operations, particularly those related to UFO monitoring and extraterrestrial communication. So he's a perfect fit. His arrival at Arrow could open the door for whistleblowers like Hector, Spartan 1, and Sherman to finally have their voices heard. I wonder if they'll be at the next UAP hearing on November the 13th. But moving on with the article, for years, these whistleblowers had been met with skepticism, ridicule, and outright hostility from government agencies that have refused to acknowledge their claims. But with Klosky at the helm, there is hope that Arrow will take a more open and transparent approach to investigating these secret operations. The public's interest in UFOs has grown significantly in recent years, particularly after the congressional hearings where former intelligence officer David Grusch testified about the government's recovery of crashed UFOs and extraterrestrial bodies. Grusch's testimony, which supports the claims made by Hecker and other whistleblowers, has added further pressure on Arrow and the U.S. government to provide more information. The connection between UFO activity and secret operations in Antarctica is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. If Klosky is indeed committed to transparency, his leadership could mark the beginning of a new era in UFO disclosure, one where the public is finally given a glimpse into the hidden world of extraterrestrial interactions. Amen. The existence of a hidden UFO base in Antarctica has far-reaching implications, not just for the United States, but for the entire world. If the claims made by whistleblowers are accurate, this base is at the heart of a global network of secret facilities where alien technology is being reverse engineered and used to develop new weapons and propulsion systems. These advancements, if made, could revolutionize everything from space travel to energy production. So I suppose that other base that I showed off the coast of Malibu that Jim Church was featuring is probably one of these facilities or secret facilities, part of that global network of secret facilities. So that was an excellent and very revealing article by David Freeman. I'd like to look at the Redacted podcast where Clayton Morris interviews Dr. Michael Sala about this hidden base in Antarctica.
So I think what's really fascinating, I want to talk about the Antarctica connection here, the Antarctica base. I've been long fascinated by the massive underground city, the massive underground military complex that's in Antarctica that's kept off limits. Like if you go there on a cruise with your family, you will only be allowed to see a portion of Antarctica. You will not be allowed to see any further into these secure locations. As whistleblowers have pointed out for decades, they have been involved with managing interstellar trade out of Antarctica, according to Navy whistleblowers. That's not according to me. Spartan 1 and 2. And also we have Dan Sherman, whistleblower Dan Sherman from the U.S. Air Force, also who's confirmed these Antarctica doings. Now, and the NSA runs the office for managing interstellar trade, if I understand that, out of Antarctica. Can you, I mean, for somebody listening right now who's sitting there, their mind is blown. Wait a minute, we have a base in Antarctica and we're running interstellar trade out of there and the NSA is involved in that? I mean, that sounds like fantasy.
Yeah, well, the NSA has been involved in tracking and monitoring UFO activity ever since its inception in 1952. In fact, that was probably one of the prime reasons why it was set up, signals intelligence, that the NSA has developed the capability to detect the appearance of UFOs anywhere over the Earth. And what has been found in studies is that wherever there's UFO activity, there's often a burst of gamma wave activity or gamma electromagnetic waves. And so the NSA has been able to set up a worldwide monitoring system where they can detect the appearance of UFOs anywhere on Earth. And so they've been detecting UFOs down in Antarctica for decades. There are reports on these UFO activities near Antarctica. And we know that the NSA has been monitoring signals traffic from Antarctica for a long time, as they do all over the world. But what's very interesting was these many reports about activities in Antarctica from various whistleblowers suggesting that there was a base there. And there were two whistleblowers that came forward, and they first reported this to Linda Moulton Howe, a veteran UFO researcher. They were called Spartan 1 and Spartan 2, and they said that there was a interstellar trading base in Antarctica that was run out of the headquarters for the National Security Agency in Fort Meade, Maryland, out of the 6th floor. So this is where it becomes very interesting why Dr. Kozlowski has been loaned by the NSA to run the Arrow office for a period, because he's there on detail. I mean, he hasn't been permanently moved to the Arrow office. He's there. He's an NSA scientist. And the thing is, he is aware, or would be aware, of a lot of this, because clearly his job in monitoring UFO activity would give him need to know about whatever records the NSA has on UFO activity. So this is where he very likely will be briefed, or has been briefed, about this office at the NSA running this interstellar trade out of Antarctica. And he also probably is very familiar with the testimony of Dan Sherman, who was a 12-year Air Force veteran who was seconded to the NSA to monitor communications with these grey extraterrestrials on behalf of the NSA. So the NSA has been tracking UFO activity. They've been tracking and communicating with extraterrestrial civilizations, and that they also run a interstellar trading base out of Antarctica.
I've interviewed whistleblower Eric Hecker. He was stationed in Antarctica. He worked for Raytheon. He was a defense contractor. He worked there at the base. He is now a whistleblower. He talked on my show about the massive military base in Antarctica and how that base at the South Pole is actually a giant air traffic control tower that monitors, as you point out, interstellar craft. Now, this has been confirmed by the Navy, U.S. Air Force whistleblowers. Again, members of the United States military, not me. I'm not saying this. This is the United States military confirming this. So are you hopeful then that this new appointment of John Kozlowski will in fact lead to more disclosure? Will he be forthcoming about what the NSA has been involved with, or will he be apt to pull a CIA move and try to keep a lot of this quiet? What does your gut tell you as we enter into 2025?
So the NSA is, I believe, much more institutionally inclined to have the truth revealed. And so I think that they've looked at what's happened. I mean, the intelligence community has looked at what's happened under Kirkpatrick. They say, well, Arrow has lost all credibility. No one trusts it. No one believes it. We have to turn things around. So let's put someone in there that does seriously want to push the disclosure movement forward, reveal some very important things that have been covered up, and prepare humanity. Because I think those that are running the institutions that govern the national security agenda over the next decade know that the US needs to prepare the public for disclosure. The construction and the development of fleets of spacecraft using advanced energy propulsion systems.
Okay, so that was Dr. Sala on the Redacted podcast show with Clayton Morris interviewing him. And I agree. I think that our future lies in space, but there's a problem with these underground global secret facilities, and the secrecy of these operations has left many unanswered questions. Why has the government, and particularly the NSA, kept this information hidden for so long? What are the true motivations behind this alleged interstellar trade taking place in Antarctica? And perhaps most importantly, what role do the extraterrestrials play in these trade activities? The whistleblowers that have come forward believe that the time for secrecy is over. They argue that the public has a right to know what's going on in Antarctica, and that the government's efforts to suppress information about this base in Antarctica is not only unethical, but potentially dangerous. As more and more insiders come forward with their stories, the pressure on the U.S. government to disclose the truth about UFOs and extraterrestrial life will only continue to grow. The hidden base in Antarctica, long the subject of rumors and speculation, is now at the center of the most significant revelation in modern history. The testimonies of whistleblowers like Eric Hecker, Spartan One, and Dan Sherman provide a compelling picture of a secret facility where humans and extraterrestrials are interacting in ways that have been kept hidden from the public. With the change of recent leadership at Arrow, there is a growing sense that the truth may finally be revealed. Okay, that's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed that. My name is Al Barrows. This has been UFO Disclosure. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks. Thanks for listening to my podcast.